wasn't because of a wasn't because of a geopolitical
here's the deal.
fumble.
Who controls the strait? You're using last week's talking points, David.
God doesn't make the world this way. We do.
Because the devil is a Democrat.
What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to yesterday's news channel where we watch CNN so you don't have to. Last night on Newsnight with Abby Phillip, the panel took a Trump versus the Pope disagreement and turned it into accusations of genocide in about 30 seconds. This one has it all. You've got outrage, emotional reactions, and people jumping straight to worst-case interpretations on every single issue. Scott Jennings is the only one trying to bring the conversation back to reality. Let's see how he pulls off this magic. Let's go.
We can, of course, have disagreements about whether this or that conflict is just, but I think that it's important, in the same way that it's important for the Vice President of the United States to be careful when I talk about matters of public policy. I think it's very, very important for the Pope to be careful when he talks about matters of theology. Well, you've got to make sure it's anchored in the truth.
Pontiff or any religious leader can say anything they want, but obviously if you wade into political waters, I think you should expect some political response, and I think the Pope's received some of that.
I think it's ridiculous that we're having like a rational conversation and debate here about theology because the insane, decrepit, senile old man who's in the White House is posting pictures of himself, posing like Jesus, and attacking the Pope. This is, and I think it's rather rich and ridiculous and ironic for J.D. Vance, who is the vice president, to the president who is the least careful with words in my lifetime in this country, the man who celebrates death of Rob Reiner and Bob Mueller, the man who cusses on Easter Sunday. For now, J.D. Vance wants people to be careful with their words, or maybe he should tell the guy he works for.
Does she have a point about that? Why, first of all, why criticize the Pope and say, you better be careful with your discussion of theology and your use of words when he doesn't care whether or not his own boss is careful with his words?
Yeah, I heard the vice president there. I actually think he had it backwards. I think that the Pope should be talking about theology. I respect the Pope's role in running the Catholic Church, and I also respect Donald Trump and J.D. Vance's role in American politics. That's their realm in which to be. It's interesting that you referenced Pope John Paul II and President Reagan. I was thinking about this this evening. There's a tremendous opportunity here for this Pope. If he would look at it this way, we're in the middle of a ceasefire. This blockade is working. There are no bombs falling. There's diplomacy going on right now. And there is a real chance, because of what Trump has done and the situation we find ourselves in, for the world to bring pressure, economic pressure, and diplomatic pressure, just like what was done in the 80s, to bear against this terrorist regime, just the way it was brought to bear against the Soviets in the 1980s. And so I get the feeling sometimes the Pope might be feeling a little adversarial, at least in some of his comments toward President Trump. I don't know that personally. It's my sense of it. But in this moment where you have, there's no bombs falling right now. There's a blockade. There's some restraint going on, and there's talks going on. This, to me, is a moment where you could have a partnership for peace in a way that brings this terrorist regime that, by the way, has been at war with the West for nearly 50 years to its knees. And I think just the way we brought the Soviets to their knees.
I thought I'd give you a quick respite before Anna starts blabbering again. What else is there to say? Same old, same old. Everyone's focused on tone and how something sounds, and Scott's the only one talking about what's actually happening right now. What's the situation we're in right now? And saying, regardless of policy, anything else, this is the reality right now. Let's look at some positive things that can possibly come out of this. Something to be said for positivity right now, because that's not what gets clicks on YouTube. I mean, that's it. That's it for the commentary. I feel guilty for it not being more robust, but what can I say? But don't fret. I know the only reason most of you watch this channel is for my razor sharp commentary. So after this next clip, we'll have plenty to talk about. Back to it.
It could happen right here.
Don't you think that opportunity goes both ways? In other words, it's also an opportunity for the President of the United States to cultivate an alliance with the leader of the Catholic Church and other foreign leaders, frankly.
It's a fair question.
The Reagan, John Paul II, Margaret Thatcher thing was years of cultivation of relationships.
But it's
not
this is a
in the
moment.
morning tweets.
But this is a moment.
It's irrational what he's doing, and you know it.
Well, it's not irrational to stand up to the Iranians.
It's irrational to be posting.
It's not irrational, but
it's irrational to be posting pictures of himself.
Is it rational to threaten a genocide of 90 million people? Is that rational, Scott? To threaten a genocide of 90 million people on Easter Sunday?
That didn't happen.
What do you think
well,
meant by
Scott,
that?
you know what he's referring to.
I do.
Right.
An entire civilization.
Let me live.
Trump said, well, let me live in reality
today.
Let me just reiterate to the audience. The president said in a message that an entire civilization may die tonight.
On Easter Sunday.
He said that. So a lot of people read that as him threatening to wipe out an entire civilization. So the Pope, it does seem like the Pope would actually be rational to respond to that, and to say, hey, we shouldn't be in the business of war. Does he not have a right to respond to that part of it too?
He has a right to say whatever he wants, but I would just say we're waging war against people who've been waging war against us for nearly 50 years. And look, the reality is, in the moment that we're in is special because we've got this regime on its knees economically, which has China. That's a problem for them as well. We've got a moment here where we can change something and change a situation that's been bad for tens of millions of people for going on 5 decades now. And I just, my hope, look, by the way, a lot of politicians in America disagree with the Pope. Do you guys agree with the Pope about abortion and gay marriage?
Well, let me say this.
The answer is no. And that's okay.
Hold on a second.
That's okay. It happens all the time.
Hold on a second.
But we all
Hold on
should
a
agree
second,
with the
Scott.
Pope on
A lot of
peace.
people,
On peace.
not everybody's a Catholic. A lot of people disagree with
Donald
the Pope.
Trump's not a Catholic.
Hold on a second. A lot of people disagree with the Pope on a lot of doctrines.
And he was not in line.
But hang on just a second.
Young people in particular were told by their president that he was not going to drag us into more forever wars, and he was going to lower prices, and he was going to release the Epstein files. We've seen him go back on every single one of those promises. Our entire lives, most of our lives, our country has been at wars in the Middle East that have gotten us nowhere but more in debt. And anybody with an elementary school understanding of foreign policy could have told you the Strait of Hormuz was going to get shut down, and that is exactly
And who controls it right now? Who controls the
why are gas prices so high then?
Why were they high during Biden's administration? Did you like that?
It wasn't because of a geopolitical
Here's the deal.
fumble.
Who controls the Strait? You're using last week's talking points, David. We control the Strait. We are in charge of this conflict right now.
Joe Biden and Donald Trump is he helped him end forever wars, and it wasn't popular, but he did it.
It went
Guess
great.
what?
It
We
went
just
great.
got into another one,
It went
and
great.
it's going a hell of a lot worse.
What do you mean? We're in control of the Strait, are we not?
So I'm pretty sure you caught it because I referenced it in the introduction, but did you see how quickly it went from disagreement to the genocide of 90 million people? I think watching too much of this stuff has just gotten me more and more annoyed. I was trying to figure out why, and I think it's because it's like this show's becoming or already is The View. Other than Scott, it's 99% of the time a table full of ladies, and yes, I'm including David Hogg in that, but all they do is stretch narratives, twist words into creating something that they can argue with, but that wasn't even ever said. You know, there's no question that Scott's really great on panels, but I mean, his competition certainly makes him look better. In this situations, and certainly other times as well, think how easy his job is. All he had to do there to win the debate was refuse to engage with their extreme nonsense. These panels are kind of like the boy who cried wolf. They've conditioned me not to take anything seriously because everything's a crisis. What do you guys think? Did this escalate way further than it needed? Thought they had a point. Please let me know. Anyway, that's it for this video. As always, thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to watch my video. I really appreciate it. Otherwise, always put God first, and I will see you guys tomorrow.
The propaganda is on every channel. They want Antifa ruling everything like it's Seattle. Put on your camo, it's a culture war and load the ammo. And they want anyone who's fighting to. They think we stupid like the truth is just